was on purpose. Who knows? We'll have to see. But with that said, we are ready indeed, ladies and gentlemen, to jump into our second day here of the World Invitational. And Imperium, we've got a lot of games to go through. Once again, 3 wrangles. We're really happy about that as always. But we watched a little bit of West yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, East kind of better.
Look, we're kind of from the West, so we can,
Well, East, man, we have to.
But look, at the end of the day, the domination that we saw with Valdez, I think was even more heavily signified with the fact that first place on the PMWI West only has 66 points compared to Valdez's 105. So the might of Valdez is being rippling through the whole of the world across this PMWI event. But we're into the first game. This playing path is quite painful. I'm not going to try and look at this in a nice way. It is not a good playing path.
I enjoy it because
that's because you're
this team. Exactly. I don't know if that's the word I would go for, but I like seeing teams under pressure a little bit to see how they can try and make these playing path work in their favor. Of course, some teams are going to go for secondary drop locations. Na'Vi should have just enough breathing space to actually stretch that drop over to George Pole. If not, they can go into the Southern George or Hospital area, pick up a car and go for the Northern Rotate instantly. That should work out just fine. Fnatic Zombies are going to be really happy to get their own drop into Novo. And actually, Fnatic Zombies, right? Currently last position, Imperium, they need a big change of pacing if they want things to go in their way. Not only today, but for the 3 days still remaining for this World Invitational. So that's one of the few teams I'm looking at as to can they improve drastically with such a small amount of time to adapt with.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure they will. They're a pretty intelligent team. And look, the only way is up, I feel, for them at this stage of the game. There's still 15 more games to go. So every opportunity for them. But will they be able to improve more than all the other teams around them? That's, I suppose, the question they're going to have to answer. This Phase 1 circle is pretty solid. Of course, it means that the northern side of this Phase 1 is a lot more accessible on your rotation. So BTR dropping down by farm, they can maybe shift around towards the kind of edge of Rozhok area. Same with DS Gaming. The rotation for I8, I think, is going to be a little bit trickier. They might want to leave it a little bit later to rotate across the bridge because of how south that playing path is. You obviously are going to have a noticeably more amount of teams closer to both of those bridges for them. So time will tell. And Na'Vi opting to spend a little bit more time to drop by the west, grab vehicles and rotate up to North Georgeville, I think is quite intelligent because it already puts them in a pretty good position for this Phase 1 circle.
I think it's going to work out good for them. They just don't have to really make that whole Rotan ordeal happen between George and also the box compound next to the bridge. So they should be fine for the time being. Then we are seeing also a team like Myth, for example. They are in Primorsk, and unlike yesterday where you had like 3 teams, I think it was in Primorsk, which was, that is very out of the ordinary. This time they're chilling, they're alone, no one's going to bother them, no noisy neighbors this time around. So Myth should have a relatively decent spot to play from. But I wanted to touch upon especially what you mentioned earlier, right? The rotation where you could just wrap around Rozhok to try and enter into the circle properly. I would even say if you want to go heavily up north, which I think is fine because not many teams really go that high up. You've got 3, which are DRS in Yasnaya, Na'Vi in George Pole, Northern George Pole to be specific, and also Severny/shooting range spread from Blacklist International. If you want to go towards Stolber, shift around the northern side of Yasnaya Poliana for DS Gaming, BTR, or even for the likes of Fnatic Zombies, I think that would be a very viable strat for some teams to travel off.
Is that too much of a commitment though? And is that taking too long to rotate? Are you
Depends when you do it.
Chunking there? That's a really good point. I didn't really think of that, but that's something that no, because I always try and think of the middle ground, but sometimes it's a little bit deeper that you brought up. I think it is a valuable thought process that a few of those teams could pull out. It's going to be interesting to see. I absolutely love that kind of correlating different point of view. Now, I know the desk brought up kind of how crazy good of a day it was for Valdez and whether or not they can repeat it. And I think Blank brought up a good point of they won't really have the same kind of day in terms of 5 extremely good games, but kind of hang around that top 5 is more than possible. When I look back at some of yesterday's games, they were given such a free ride. them sometimes, right? It's like teams weren't, I'm not going to say weren't taking them seriously, but weren't really looking at them too much. There was quite a few games where they were close to some teams and teams didn't really look to shut them down. They were given way too much room to breathe. Today, teams will have looked back on the VOD, they would have done their review with the coaches, however, and I feel like Valdez are going to get a little bit more heavily targeted on the rotations in Phase 2, Phase 3. Teams like, you know, DRS, maybe Blacklist, not so much because they're a passive team, but teams like, you know, NASA or Xavier, I have a feeling that if they get close to Valdez, and they're pretty certain it is them, they might start to be a bit more aggressive because you cannot give Valdez the same room that they were given yesterday.
I guess what we're trying to say is also we're going to wait and see if teams have maybe done some VOD review and adapt a little bit to how Valdez would play and maybe try and play to their strength and also find the weaknesses of Valdez and how they play and capitalize on that. I agree. I think that could be something that some teams are going to try and make happen today and hopefully achieve and make happen. Otherwise, I mean, where's the fun in having one team run away with an insane lead you can't catch up, right? We want a little bit more competition at the top, so we're hoping to see other teams rise up to the occasion. But you actually mentioned one team that has risen up to the occasion in really big ways that we were not really expecting. I think they even talked about it on the desk a little bit yesterday and even today. Xavier coming out really out of nowhere. I'm not gonna lie, this was a team that had very minimal amount of information on. Currently standing in fourth was 51 point, which is a really big margin on fifth place, which is currently held down by Zeus with 38. Definitely. Sure, it's not an insane amount of points, but for the amount of games we had yesterday, which were 5, that is actually relatively significant. So I'm thinking if Xavier just remain like this and remain consistent, which it seemed like they were able to do to some degree yesterday, they could be the big surprise and the big underdog of the entirety of this World Invitational for the East.
Yeah, they had 3 fantastic results in a row. They started and ended. They bookmarked the day on a 3-pointer and a 1-pointer, but that second, third, and fourth was 11, 21, and 15 respectively. So 110%. Yes, the Xavier have impressed us a lot. Now, looking at this game, the rotations are starting to be made throughout by a lot of these teams. A1 are going pretty good looking towards the chopsticks area without going too close to it. So I respect that kind of stopgap, whether or not they choose to stay there. I8 did go for a little bit of an earlier rotation than I expected on Military Island, and it's worked out for them, but they're going quite deep in this Phase 1 circle, and it's something that I've seen from I8 yesterday that I was hoping that they would improve a little bit more. Right now, they're getting away with it, but again, they've always got to know that they're going in blind when they're going from such a far location as Military Base. Starting to make a bit of noises. Refuse sending Yala up on top of Everest. So I at least like the calculated aggression from I8, recognizing that they do need to start making some noise on this deep rotation.
I was actually asking myself yesterday if Rever's name is inspired from the French word rêveuse, which means dreamer.
Oh,
I don't know. He's written the exact same, so I'm thinking maybe, and that would be a cool prospect if that's the idea. Coming on through. So I'm looking at the map and another rotation. You said a few are currently coming on through. One already strikes me as being very strong and almost the exact same as yesterday in some ways for Geek Fam. They go for the big Gatka field spread. They regroup very quickly once they're done with the looting stage, which typically the big mistake that we see teams do in Gatka fields is they stay spread for too long, teams start to rotate, and then they take a 4v1 and one of your players does too far, and you lose a player, and then you're down to 3, and it makes it really hard for you to find closure to a game possibly later on down the line. Geek Fam did not have an issue with that because they regroup maybe, I would say, 3 minutes into the game, 4 minutes in, they get a strong position and they play extremely well, and they're doing it once again. And that's what allowed them to get the win yesterday on, I believe it was the second Erangel game. And they're trying to do that once again this time around. So Geek Fam, once again, I said I'm a big fan of their rotates from yesterday, and I want to see a lot more of it because I think they are a hidden gem in this tournament.
Heading into Phase 2, we're going to see obviously this shift that has gone down towards the southwest. I really also like the Xavier's 2-2 split between the church and the compound just across the road from that church area outside of Pichinki. Most teams are pretty well solidified inside this Phase 2, but because maybe teams were looking more towards the northern half of Phase 1, it has created a noticeable space on the southern side of this Phase 2 for the likes of Myths, for Fnatic Zombies, who are yet to actually go across from Military Island, and even DS, who are also taking their time to rotate. So I'm interested to see who will adapt and maybe shift a little bit closer to the southern half of this phase 2.
Nothing really out of the ordinary. We are kind of expecting to see these teams play edge. Said DS, NASA also like to play a little bit more to the edge side, especially after them struggling heavily in a few fights and skirmishes yesterday. I think that they're maybe trying to take things back a little bit and slow things down. They don't want to take these fights because they tend to have a little bit of a hard time when they do take them, as Godless hits a shit Car 98 shot, headshot actually to be exact, so good on Zeus. And talking about Zeus, right, a little bit of a, I think a lot of people expected the big things from them, and yesterday was a little bit of a downfall position, but it's only one day. You know, we can see this team do great. They're not known as the most consistent team, and when they do perform well on the day, they get an insane amount of points coming their way, and I'm hoping to see that coming on through, because it was they started off roughly. They had one good game, then two really poor performances, and I think that might have hurt their morale a little bit, so we're hoping to see today start off better, and they can just ease into the games and hopefully have some good old gameplay that we are expecting from Zeus. They're going to be seeing some gameplay coming out from BTR. They're going to be good for the engage onto the South Korean team of DS Gaming. Rising themselves the M249, unfortunately will be losing his process and get knocked out. And that's going to be done. DS Gaming just instantly taken down, and they surrender Pachinki Hill over to BTR, which is one of the best positions for scouting in this circle.
Now you see me, now you don't. As DS Gaming fall victim to BTR, and I would genuinely reckon that that is a product of DS Gaming not respecting the fact that they were coming into the circle late, right? So when you come into the circle a little bit later, you have a lack of information. There's absolutely no reason why they didn't, why they couldn't have stopped on that hill across the road from BTR, gotten a little bit of information, and then maybe look to get a knock on the BTR before pushing forward. But it's quite obvious that they just full sent it, thinking it was going to be free, and BTR were there waiting in the wings to capitalize quite accordingly. I did also hear quite a good few M249 shots being fired by, I think, multiple players from BTR, starting to see that gun be utilized more. I know it's out of the crate, and the UMP has become massively in the meta, but the M249 also starting to be highly favored by a lot of these players.
I mean, we saw it so much yesterday, right? Especially on Sanok. It's a go-to weapon, I would very clearly say, especially if you are going to be outnumbered, which happened quite a lot, where you have to take a 1v2, or you do like Martin, you take a 1v3. M249 is the weapon to have for yourself. And we'll see how things are going to work out. And actually, we're talking about new weapons and everything. One piece of utility that's rarely used, and I think is very interesting to talk about yesterday, was that flashbang finish over on Miramar, where it did go over to Martin or Valdez. That is one good idea of what you can do with the flashbangs. A few patches ago, I don't remember how long ago it was, they actually buffed the range at the AoE of the flashbangs. And in open areas, it's still not easy to use, but if you use it accordingly, it could be great. And you know what is also going to be great? This circle, especially for the likes of Zeus. They're slapdag middle. They could go, in my eyes, on the little hilltop just down southwest of where they currently are, but I think that Reject is already on the move to snatch that position for themselves.
Navi on the radio tower square that they had a pretty good start to in one of the Durango games yesterday. I think it was the final game, if I'm not mistaken. But now they're looking to shift down south on top of the hill where Observatory is held onto. So it's a really good hill that Navi are setting themselves up for. Great reaction on this phase 3 shift. Curious to know how Blacklist are going to deal with this kind of shift far heavily down south as Ida gets knocked down at the hands of Zio.
In front of Yala. Unfortunately, Ida was sent out there as a more of a scout player. Tiggsy actually going to be able to find himself a knock with his DP28. Trusty weapon to play with. I see, hoping to maybe get some utility towards Yol. There you go, that's the smoke coming out. He's going to get into the car, into the Lamborghini, and, well, not Lamborghini, sorry, the McLaren. Still hoping to get one, but unfortunately I can't get any more, so my luck has run dry. Hopefully getting it there in time, 1 or 2 bullets and that's it for Ziol, and he does get himself inside of the smoke behind that rock, so that's going to be fun, and there's nowhere enough space to actually go for nade play. So that should happen pretty easily, and the rest of Zeus is going to be joining up on the party. We're slowly but surely seeing teams get close to each another, but nothing that really should mean any closure to any team just yet.
Oh my lord. A lot of shots being fired by Navi, but what is this spread? Meku gets knocked, Kitsune is way further apart. They were on a great hill and they give that up to try and go for a fight and they lose 2 players. Incredibly poor decision making from Navi. I get that you want to be aggressive, but be aggressive and controlling in your own area. Don't go to the fight when you don't have to. I also gotta say, credit to Yala, because one of Yala's players got knocked down. They didn't instantly go for the revive. They actually waited. Now that they've got it, they're now able to drive away. Plus, Valdez went down onto the hill, and Yala, their 2 players that were holding onto that compound, got a kill onto one of the Valdez players. So really great, actually 2 of the Valdez players. So really good teamwork across the board from Yala to hold onto their position and get the revive. That's big pog.
That is the compound you want if you want to slow down teams that are trying to move away from Everest. So they used it really well, and not only that, they were also very aware of the situation of where Ziola was when he got knocked. They saw that there was a third party happening in the kill feed, so like, okay, they can't go for the kill confirm onto Ida, and also because I think Ida just died so many times early game yesterday, they're like, okay, we'll try and keep you alive this time, man. I swear we'll give it a fair shot. Got him back up and came in. So they were very aware of the situation they were in, and because of that, they were able to make the most out of it, pick up kills, and res up their teammate. That is what you love to see coming out from the Saudi Arabian team. Now, so time more. Where is it gonna go? And straight on down south. Huge for Reject, huge for Geek Fam. Geek Fam, I love this compound. This is one of my favorite compounds in all of Erangel. It is so hard to breach. If they defend it properly, this might be a strong game. A top 3 going the way of Geek Fam.
Let's be fair, we've had 2 or 3 hardships in a row from these teams.
Horrible,
they haven't been kind. It has been incredibly horrible. Blame Max, man, everybody. If you don't like it, just blame Max and send him a message on Instagram. Go follow him at the same time.
No.
Anyway.
No, I like that, yeah.
IA have been a lot more passive than in yesterday's game, and I actually like that because I think they realized that they need to actually spend more time as a full squad in these games. Even if they're not playing naturally to how they want to, which is aggressive, you are getting experience being inside these games. The Xavier are now looking to start off a bit of a fight against A1. Well, cooked grenade by Lamborghini. Will that connect in the right way onto A1? Don't think so for now.
We're hoping to see a lot more, of course, from the Bangladesh team of A1. Yesterday was not the best showing, currently in 13th position with 16 points, 1 good game, and they just double that bare minimum. So A1 needs to live up to the expectations. I think a lot of people are supporting them in the chat right now. And hopefully they'll be able to help out the team on their morale. Nade coming out a little bit short, I believe, for Lamborghini. Will put himself back inside the building. But you got to be careful because there's another team right on the side, and that is I8. So they are pinned down to Xavier, and they need to be able to be on their top tier game if they want to have just the slimmest chance of coming out on top as a 4-man, because that is not an easy fight they're going to take.
Also not going to be an easy fight for Myths, as BTL already 4 kills strong, so they're feeling the fire, they're feeling the burn of what they can achieve, and they're looking to go aggressive on it. Suxi sends himself up. He has that UMP, gonna cook a smoke to try and give him an angle of protection, but now another one is gonna have to stop him from getting knocked down from Hosem. So really good adaptiveness from BTR.
Yeah, gonna be able to play that one just fine. Hosem, bang goes the dynamite, well, the grenade should I say, as he's gonna be instantly knocked down. BTR is gonna have to take this one a little bit slow because they have a little bit of a hard time really pinning down the location of all the players of Myth. I would have a hard time believing that is going to be an easy revive. He's going to go for it. He's got the M249 in hand too, so it could work out actually just fine, but BTR really took their feet off the pedal right now, slowing things down significantly as the circle's about to shift once again.
But the 4th player of Myth, what is he doing there? Either he joins in on the fight or the whole team disengages. You don't have this. You don't have this. You don't go in between at all. Broly's still staying prone down. BTR, I love the point that you mentioned about them slowing down. I think that could go against him because that's allowing Myth to in some way reevaluate where they're heading now. Of course, BTR are looking in the direction of another fight, but they need to focus on Myth and Myth alone. There you go.
Yeah, Suxy's going to go a little bit wider there. You got to be careful. Broly right behind there in the bush. He goes for the spray, and unfortunately, he will get knocked on down. BTR still up to 2 players, gets a double knock. That's going to be so well played, actually, from Broly. Really worthwhile for his team, but Myth, they still have another player, but he's so far away. He took the knockdown onto Ryzen. Reflex is just nowhere to be seen currently and cannot get then time to go for the rest on his teammates. And unfortunately, this is going to be coming up to almost nothing, and the influence he's going to have on this game is so little, but though the circle shifts once again, and this is horrible. There's only one team out of 11 inside that circle, and it is going to be the Japanese team of Reject. Boy, oh boy, they're looking good.
And I don't know exactly what happened to the Xavier in terms of who took them out, but between I8 and A1, they got absolutely sandwiched by a beautiful A1 piece of bread and an I8 piece of bread. Bangladesh and Pakistan ingredients, you can't go wrong with that one together. They make a pretty tasty sandwich indeed. But now the fight between these two slices of bread is going to kick off. And let's be fair, A1 do have the advantage because they're much closer to the circle and they have those walls that they're able to play around by those buildings.
Okay, now the push onto Reject's position. Teams know they're going to have to push on this spot eventually. This is a must-have spot. First one to do that is going to be Zeus. Not going to be going over aggressive just yet. They're trying to gather the most information as possible while Reject is trying to reposition, get all the cars stacked up next to the Harry Potter Tower, try and keep them there in case they do have to cross the road, because as an eventuality, they might have to cross later on. These cars are going to be extremely important for them if they are aiming for the win, which hopefully they are. Back on over to this other fight. We did lose ourselves to Xavier earlier. Now there's only 2 teams remaining. It's going to be I8 and also A1 Esports. Things are relatively slow, but Crypto does get knocked on down by a great shot from Jax. I'm loving it. You've seen one player of I8 there up top on the minimap. I can't see his name exactly just yet, but he's going far and wide. It's Revers, actually, and he's going to the circle and also getting the off angle that A1 are completely unaware of. This is great. It sets you up for rotation and also to take that fight versus A1. That is so proactive coming out from I8.
But they shouldn't have went to go for the revive on the Crypto. Such a bad idea. Cut your losses sometimes. I know Crypto is the best player, the fragger of the team, but it doesn't matter if you're down. And now the other player goes down, and it's all going hard. Wrong. IA are gonna get taken to the ground all because they went for the revive on Crypto.
That's the main issue we have. Literally what just happened with them is they gave themselves up one by one by one by one. You're making the fight so easy for A1 to pick in the first place. So I8 hoping to think back on this game and hopefully rewatch the VOD and see what went wrong, because you're making it too easy. And some reses like that on Crypto especially is just not worthwhile. You're in such a risky position. One easy shot from the window and you're donezo. So hopefully they can tend to work on that as the days go on for the World Invitation. Although this circle's still close enough, and we said it right, GeekFam had such a strong position. No one contested their compound, and all the other teams on the west denied each another. So that just made it so easy for GeekFam to find a strong spot in the first place. Now the fights are still unfolding as teams are trying to move away from their compounds, especially the likes of A1, BTR also on that ridge line, trying to go downhill, but in that smoke, just a few shots and Liquid is down. Zutzi get into the buggy. Can he make it alive? I'm not sure, but now he's spotted away by Sinister. The great spray connects from A1. Doesn't get the damage just yet, but now you don't have a buggy anymore. That just sealed the fate of BTR Imperium. They cannot make it off that ridge.
And we have lost Reject. They went down, they tried to play passive going for the sniper tower, but I thought that might go horribly wrong for them because they allowed too many teams to get on top of the hill above it. Zeus, they're still in this game. We're left with Geek as well. Fnatic Zombies, they're still in this game. They're down at the bottom of the leaderboard. What a way for them to start day 2, Max.
Yeah, I just realized maybe 2 minutes ago, I was like, wait, Fnatic Zombies are there. Are we going to see the comeback from the last place team in 16th with 12 points currently? I mean, already so far, it seemed like they might have just doubled their points. They got 6 kills already and in top 5, so it seemed like that is indeed about to be the case. And GeekFam, they're going to pop into the kill feed, but not for the right reason, as they're going to start getting knocked on down. BTR still going to be trying to be as proactive as possible in the circle, despite the lack of man advantage. Liquid already creeped his way forward a little bit closer to the likes of Fnatic Zombies. Oh man, gonna have to think of moving over to get over that road. They already sent one player forward. They're keeping the pressure down onto A1 from Bangladesh.
Really good spread by Zeus, right? Sending IC in as the anchor point. Unfortunately for A1, you know, Zeus are there to pinch them up, because if Zeus weren't there, A1 would have way better control inside his circle. We're also seeing GeekFam and Fnatic Zombies taking each other out. And what does that do? That leaves BTR free to avoid all the action and play for the very late stages of the game.
ICM's getting himself a nice knock onto Damaru through the smoke. Really good pre-fire from him. Liquid got knocked down. Hopefully can make it back to the buggy. I would even say for Zuxi, if he could pop the buggy, make it explode. The buggy, a new car. There you go, new car skin coming up in PUBG Mobile confirmed. They can maybe get the res onto Liquid. That would be huge. But yeah, happily able to sneak behind. That one smoke in front of him dissipates and is gone. That is A1 losing 2 players minimum, I would say.
Just the control Zeus have in the late stages of the game. They're taking fight after fight after fight.
Oh, Geek Fam, they want to really push out of that roadside position, but it's so hard. They have no intel. They do not know where the teams are localized inside the circle itself. They do not know where to go, where they're going to be positioned, and they just get naded up so hard. That's a big nade, and that's it for Geek Fam as they get swiped away by none other than the Fnatic Zombies themselves. Mexico, what a nade indeed. But now the play for Fnatic Zombies is to keep teams away from the nade range from your shack. If they cannot get in that position, you will not be contested. Even Zeus are a little bit too far away, but they're smoking their way closer and closer. If they get any closer, we're talking 20 meters, and this might just be the end for Fnatic Zombies.
BTR, they are being given so much, but they are not being targeted by Fnatic Zombies at all.
He's getting too close. Godless, he knows if he gets in nade range, this is GG for Fnatic Zombies. They will not be able to fight back in any way, shape, or form. They'll just get bullied all over the place. But they need to be sure and aware of their surroundings. Look, with a huge for BTR. Can they take it as a 2-man?
No, they can't. They're too much out in the open. Never mind the fact that A1 have been able to keep themselves up as a full squad. How's that even being able to happen? I know Zeus were taking multiple fights at once, but I thought they were going to punish A1 a little bit more aggressively, but no confirmations, no kills. Leaves A1 in a pretty good spot.
Zeus are everywhere. Oh. Brownlee sent to the Afterlife too, as IC gets picked up. If you can make it to that crate, actually, that would be big. One of the BTR players. Mexico gets spotted away. Yeah, the angles are just so wide, so hard to deal with for Fnatic Zombies. That shack is thought to have big control on the circle itself. The smokes are now going to be dissipating, making it a little bit easier to actually connect those shots in the first place. But Jaxi knows, now he sees down below, that's the entirety of Zeus. We need to make sure that this squad does not make it over to the ridge. If they do, that's going to make it even harder for them to move them out of that position in the first place. So, Zeus, this is hard, I know it, but if you survive, this would be extremely worth it in the long term.
You just have to head in one direction. You either head towards A1 or head towards Zombies. You can't split that. You cannot split that.
To make a choice eventually. Boo, no, you're spotted away by 6ix9ine with the M16, and that's the headshot that doesn't connect, and BTR gets picked up. You said Imperium. There was no way. They were down below. They had no cover to play with except a buggy, and that can very easily be overcome. So the Rays are still coming out. Can he get a boot inside the shack? He doesn't get shut down, actually. All the focus of A1 seems to be towards the likes of Zeus. They want to get rid of them before putting their focus towards the likes of Fnatic Zombies. So Fnatic Zombies, they're just waiting.
Nice one, Jax.
For team to get eliminated.
Oh, great play by Jax. He's single-handedly keeping the space away from the 3 other players of his team. He's being the sacrificial lamb, stopping Zeus from going forward while the other players from the team are focusing on Zombies.
Getting prone, Salam. You got to be careful. You're prone in the open. That is very, very easy for maybe Jax. Actually, Jax just leaves the position of Zeus. That's relieving a lot of pressure. He sees the circle moving up. He knows they're going to have to come their way. He's just waiting for the opportune time to strike, and Fnatic Zombies also getting pushed away from that shack. There is no way out of this one. And I believe they already used a lot of their meds because they got knocked just so many times by A1 and Zeus, and now they got the spray behind the trees. It is so hard for A1 to fight from that one. A flashbang in the open. They have no idea what's happening, allowing Sinister slowly but surely to sneak his way forward, and he strikes. Mexico down first. Salam in the boot, still up and ready to go. And he's going to try and confirm that kill. Every single point counts. Salam also getting picked away. While Zeus are just waiting, they've seen a kill feed lighting up. They're hoping to see a team go down so they can steal away second place. That is their game plan this time around, as Abood hasn't got spotted out just yet. He's taking this one really slow.
None of the teams have secured a chicken dinner so far in the PMWI, so whoever comes out on top, it will be their first win.
That'll be big for a lot of these teams. I'm sure a lot of people in chat hoping to see Zeus get himself the dub. Zaboo gets spotted away, goes for the spray. 1 bullet is all you need. Oh my god, almost got the counterplay and almost got the knock himself, but at the end, that is going to be GG well played for Fnatic Zombies. Still a great performance compared to what we saw yesterday, but that is 11 kills total over to Zeus, and they know exactly where there's one player of Zeus, but he is not. That is not the current player you should be focusing on. You should be looking at Sinister, but they have no idea where he is. They think he's all behind the tree. And now this is a 1v3. Are we going to see a Martin 2.0?
2v3. It's 2v3. You still Sinister
another one?
and Dante. Yes, there is.
Where is he hidden? Oh, he's hidden so well, I can't even see him. Okay, fair enough. 2v3 in Pyramid, as you say. Now it's going to be a 1v3. Sinister, there he goes, a little bit farther and wider. Tries to go for the spray, but gets overwhelmed. And that is going to be GG, as we do see ourselves A1 go out in second. And Zeus, finally, and I think a lot of people were finally expecting that to happen, getting himself their very first win for Mongolia over here in the World Invitational East.
Look, Blaise said himself, right? He said that it takes normally kind of a day or so for Zeus to really warm up. Day 2, they've come in swinging. Their control on that Norse was really solid. They did nearly suffer casualty early on at the hands of Yala, but they were kind of saved by Navi. Navi then made a mistake. They were able to get the revive off, and because Yala were kind of focused more on the likes of Valdis in that compound up north, they were given that room to breathe. And then Reject opted to go for that passive play down the hill into the sniper tower up in the north. And doesn't matter how that circle shifted, that was a big plus for Zeus. Because zombies then helped to clean up Reject, which gave so much more room for Zeus to then go for that split drop. And really from there was a little bit of luck involved for sure. They could have focused on one team more than trying to go for too many fights at once. But at the end of the day, they still won that game with 3 players alive.
Yeah, I think especially the moment that was so important for Zeus, and you talked about Reject, is when Reject decided to give up that front line on the outskirts of the circle up north and actually put himself towards that Harry Potter tower. And the thing is, that position is so easy to push. There's so many rocks. There's also a little bit of an overhang for you to push in that position. You're very easily going to be in nade range, and you know Harry Potter tower, if you are getting naded up, there's almost no escape. It's like you're playing in a shack. There's almost no way to escape your fate at the end. So this is a fight that we were questioning quite a fair bit, Imperium, was the I8 fight versus A1.
Yeah, for sure.
I8, really, if you can play with your team and make use of that number, that is what you're hoping to see. But unfortunately, they tried to go for the res on Crypto, and they also had a 1-1 split on the other side of the building, allowing them to take a very easy fight for A1. So I'm hoping to see I8 improve on that regard, at least for the next games to come.
Let's be fair though, it was a fantastic game from A1. You talk about how kind of, you know, Zeus hadn't really kind of kick-started their PMWI. It was even worse for A1. Joy Bangla coming through with a fantastic second place result and a hell of a lot of kills. Now, they're normally a team that do get a lot of kills in games, but you know, they've gotten into this kind of style of not really lasting that long in games, maybe going out in 4th, 5th, 6th with 6, 7, 8, 9 kills, but second place was really good with the kills that they got.
It just seemed really like A1 were the kings of the lobby towards the end of that game. Of course, when you had Dante and Sinister down below, it made it really hard. They were in a similar position as to where BTR were playing, and of course, there's no way for you to really fight back in that scenario when you're getting pushed over a ridge like by Zeus. But when they won that ridge line and they just had a big 4-man spread, they were just taking so much control. They were truly the kings of the lobby. But you know what?